Welcome to today's episode, or should I say this month's episode. It takes me a little while to get these out, but today I'm talking with Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul right now is stationed in Japan and will be making his way back to the United States to serve out there in Maryland. So it's going to be a great time for him. We served together on the USS Carl Vinson and learned a lot together over those years, as many people did. But I hope you enjoy this conversation. There's lots of great nuggets inside of it. Please take notes, and as you'll learn here, apply those notes. Application.
What do you got going on today? What are you up to?
So today, kind of doing something I should have done before. I'm in the middle of a PCS, or a transfer of command for the non-military folks, and trying to coordinate the time differences you're talking about with setting up like the gas and services for my house. That's kind of been a little challenge I've been working with. And then with the COVID stuff, normally the transfer is kind of complicated as it is, but that's adding to it. So it's been fun. I'll say it like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. One thing I'll mention here too is that with the time difference, also there's a little bit of a lag, and so sometimes one of us may be right in the middle of saying something, and if we jump in, and it'll sound like we're being rude to each other, but just for everybody listening, it's a little bit of a lag over there, between I'm in San Diego, California, and Aaron's out there in Japan. So.
Well, you say rude, maybe two chiefs. That's our language, talking to each other.
That's right. Yeah, you got to say what you got to say, and say it right then.
Yeah, most deaf, man, most deaf.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to hear from you. I remember a lot of great stories that from working on the USS Carl Vinson. That was our time together there through lots of interesting and challenging leadership times, and learning about life and people and human nature in general. So I'm sure some of that will get mixed into this conversation today, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
That's great. Okay, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just give us your story, and talk about how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Excuse me. So Aaron Paul. I'm a father of three, 2 girls, 1 boy, ages 15, about to be 13 and 6. Married to my wife Amanda for about 15 years. No, 16 years actually. Been active duty for 20 years now, as of last week, so I'm proud of that. Got that milestone. Yeah. First generation American. My mother, she's from Guyana, South America. She immigrated from England. She came to the States in the early 70s. She studied nursing in England and then came to America. Met my father in New York. My father, he's from Jamaica. And, then I came along, moved around quite a bit with my mom. She was a career nurse. And then, that's my story, first generation American, first person in my family that joined the military. And then after that,
nice.
I was the first guy to go. I got representation in Marines, Army, Air Force, and I think a Coast Guard if they get through boot camp. So, pretty proud of that.
Very good. So it sounds like you might have started a family trend.
Yeah. I think one of my kids are definitely gonna join the military. We got a lot of friends right now thinking about like Will Tracy, his son's in the Navy. So I got friends who have, now their kids are in the Navy, Marines. Your boys are in the service too. So I think it's crazy that circle of life,
Yeah, it's definitely weird. It's weird to know, that intergenerational thing where people are, now our kids are joining, and your kids soon will be in there too. Everybody following behind to keep up that tradition of military service.
Yeah.
And,
there's a lot to gain from it, Like my military service really did shape the way I, the way I view stuff. My mom, she's traveled a bit, and then she would tell me things through her eyes as being, a person, a naturalized citizen. So seeing things through someone who's not from America, the way they view American culture, that really was imparted on me to appreciate certain things and see how things are differently. And then coming to the Navy and then meeting everyone from different parts of the country and then different parts of the world, it really shaped me as a person and now as a parent, the way that we raise our children.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's one thing. America is a melting pot of the world, and then you take that and you mix that into the military. And the military, you get all kinds of backgrounds, different groups, and people coming from, again, even all over the world, trying to become citizens through the military service. So you definitely meet a lot of interesting people from all walks of life. How has that affected you? Because not only that, you've also traveled around the world and got to meet people from different cultures and see different countries. Like going into India and places like that. How has that shaped your? How has that added to your idea of America or of the world in general?
Like we talk about the melting pot, and I saw something the other day. It stuck to me. Is like a melting pot. Like I think about like a big bowl of gumbo. Like I grew up in New Orleans and New York, and I know like what real gumbo is. And like real gumbo has like all the flavors mixed in, but not one overbearing flavor. You don't want to like lose the flavor. So one thing I think, to answer your question about how it shaped me, is I want to appreciate all the flavors in the melting pot without losing, the flavor. I don't want to get lost in it. I want to appreciate every bit of it rather than just having one thing drown it out. And I think Americans should be like a multifaceted, like really, deep flavor pot of gumbo, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that because gumbo is good.
Yeah,
that's good. I like that. So you've been joined the Navy. You've been 20 years now, so you must have joined in 2000. What month did you join in? Because I think we figured this out back when we were on the Carl Vinson there, that we joined very close to the same time, although I'd already had some prior service. So this would actually be my 20 years in the Navy as well. So did you join in August, if I remember right?
Yeah, I joined in August of 2000.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's when I also joined the Navy. I think you probably were at boot camp, and I went over to TPU, the Trinidad Personnel Unit.
Yeah, I know about that. When I was at RDC, I remember doing that, seeing the guys at the NAVET, OSVET. I'm like, these guys are walking around a little too comfortable. I was like, oh, they're all prior service, so that's why.
Yeah, because I rode the bus with the recruits from the airport over to the recruit training, and then as I got off along with them, they all got in line and went in and turned to the right, and I went in and turned to the left.
Like, where is he going?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Probably lots of people like, oh, who's this guy? That was pretty good. So, 20 years is a long time. I don't know if you could remember back 20 years, but what do you wish you would have known before you joined the Navy?
Oh, I wish I had known what a rate is and what a MOS is. We got that saying, like, you choose your rate. choose your fate. So when I went to the recruitment office, like, having somebody, being the first person in the family to go to the military, I didn't have, the game plan. It's kind of like going to buy your first car without knowing how to haggle or what was available to you. So just, choose your rate, choose your fate. Like my rate of progression, it wasn't accelerated. Every pay grade I've been in I've been there for a good amount of time, and then I progressed. I don't regret that, but I think that if I would have known more about the job selection, I think I would have advanced a little bit faster coming in as a E1 without an MOS or a rate,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a little bit of prior knowledge is always helpful along the way when you're joining something like the military, kind of knowing what you're getting into or the possibilities of what you're getting into.
Yeah, because I sat down at that classifier's desk, right? And he's like, all right, my friend, it was in the Bronx. No, it was in Staten Island, Fort Hamilton and Staten Island, I think. Yeah, and he was like, hey, what do you want to do? And then I said that magic phrase. I was like, I'm not sure. And his eyes lit up. I was like, why is this guy so happy? And then he's like, I can show you a program where you can, like, get a taste of every job, and then you could pick it. I was like, oh, yeah, man. And I'd give you $2,000 to sign up. I was like, oh, yo, man, heck yeah. Sign me up for that. $2,000? What? Man, it sounds like a deal. Yeah, his deal, not mine. I came in as a undesignated airman. Now in Navy lingo they call it a pack airman or a pack seaman. So I went to, my first command was the USS Enterprise. She decommissioned a couple of years ago. She's the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. And I was in the air department. Air department, you have 4 or 5 departments. You have you have the aircraft handlers, you have the arresting gear folks, and then you have the guys in the hangar bay moving the birds, the jets, and you got the fuelies. So when I got to the ship, they said, where you guys want to go? And there was a guy in the office, and he looked at us 4 newbies, and he kept signaling his hands V4. That was the fuelies. And this guy kept looking like, yo, you want? He kept doing. I was like, okay, hey, I want to go to V4. I was like, all right. So I was a purple shirt. You see the pictures, on the carriers and all that. That was a fuelie, working below decks, turning valves, purifying the fuel. And then I did 1 out to sea or underway period on the flight deck, and that was real. So they put me back in below decks because I wasn't really liking the flight deck too much. And then I struck OS once my time to pick a rate. I wanted to be an electrician, but they said OSs make advancement pretty quick. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do my 4 and get out. And then here I am.
Yeah, that seems to be the words all the lifers use.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that kind of that line of work for young people going in today, like that pack, where I know it was called the Seaman program for a while too. Would you recommend that as a path into the Navy if they don't know what to do yet?
I'd say do it, but make sure that they know how to look at all the information that's available to them. Because, back 20 years ago, one thing I will say, answering on your previous questions about what's different, the information, we were at the mercy of that first class or that sergeant, that gunny, that chief to pass on the information. But now with, the internet's one thing, and they've got so many apps on their phone to find information and guidance that if you don't know anything, that's just, willful ignorance, So I think if a person goes in undesignated, if they're not exactly sure, it does give them time to figure it out. But they got to make sure they know, like, the battle space of hey, all right, if I do this, this job is available at this time. I can't convert out this job. This is their history of pace of advancement. And I think I'm a little biased, but the people who come in undesignated, to me, we value our job more. Not saying someone doesn't value their job if they had it from the jump, but you things you have to earn, you hold on to it more and you value it more. So
yeah, for sure.
I might have been an operations specialist, but because I was like more of a quote unquote blue collar rating or MOS, I think I attacked my job and my duties like someone with a blue collar mindset. White collar job with a blue collar mindset. And I think that's helped some of my success come through the ranks.
Yeah. I would say so. Even as you were talking about that, made me think about the hard workers that I remember in the Navy generally came from outside the OS rating into the OS world that I met in the Navy anyways. So that is definitely something to consider, depending on where they're looking at. Because the other ones that came through, if you remember, like came out of they were going to be Navy SEALs or EOD or something like that, and they kind of somehow got hurt or didn't make it through the BUDS program or something like that, so they had to come to and pick a rate. A lot of them picked OS or were forced into it. And you could tell those people too. But the ones that picked it, like you said, worked hard and worked at a different, I'd say a different pace or had a different work ethic about them.
Yeah, we actually, you and I had one guy that actually went to I remember his name, but I'm not gonna, but he actually made it through BUDS. He got approved to get to BUDS, past BUDS, and he made it to teams. As a matter of fact, he actually reached out to me on Instagram, and I remember we had a conversation because, remember, I was the career counselor. I took it over from you after you turned it over to me, and I said, hey, man, if you're trying to get back in, they're going to want to see your work ethic, and the work ethic is going to be reflected in what you do as an OS. So you better attack this as if you plan to be a career OS, even though your plans are for you to go back and pursue your dream on your goal of being, a teams guy, so.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, definitely interesting line when you come in, you got to come back. All those guys always wanted to go back, every one of them. So it's always good to hear somebody went back and did it.
Yeah, but I was a RDC for, 3.5 years from 2014 to 2017. I trained 9 divisions, 1 all male, the rest are integrated. And then when you're RDC, you have it's called a whole job, where you get a break so you don't, kill someone's child. But so my first whole job, I worked at the Fitness Improvement Training Team and Recruit Convalescence Unit, or FIT RCU. So the the recruits that didn't pass their final physical assessment or they got hurt, that's where they went to get over the hump or to rehabilitate. And then I had a second whole job because I got extended up there. And I went on to be a RDC C-School instructor, teaching prospective RDC students or blue ropes to be RDCs. So I had a very full tour there. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like teaching? Because leadership is one of those things. And I believe it. I know we've talked about it a lot of times, but to me, good leaders build other leaders. They don't try and build followers. So that seems like what you would have been doing as a recruit division commander, but also as a recruit division commander instructor. How did that work out for you in that leadership role kind of thing?
It So with the recruit divisions, if you remember, they set up a lot of things to mirror the chain of command that they're going to have once they get to A school and they get to the fleet for their follow-on commands. So trying to pick your recruit division staff from the pool of everyone, that was a big thing, like telling them that, hey, trying to pick, you don't want to pick like the easy person all the time. You got to give some people some time to grow. So it was interesting to pick the surefire winners, like, hey, this guy, he's second generation, or this person was a manager at, Foot Locker, so they know how to do admin, maybe. This person, this is a school teacher. So trying to apply talent to task, but also giving people a chance to grow. So that was interesting, trying to look at, the different walks of life and how to make that team. And then telling them that, hey, the minute you get the RDCs to be quiet and you're self-sufficient, that's when your boot camp experience will be better. That was the first part. And then being the guy teaching the prospective RDCs, like, in my opinion, they were harder to train than the new sessions, because these are people who came back, they've been through boot camp, they've been the number one sailor, they'll sail the year, they know how to read instructions, so you got to kind of tell them, like, hey, man, I don't care about your eval. You're going to do this run, you're going to shut your mouth, and, you're going to earn it, because once you get that rope, you become like it. That recruit sees that person as like the benchmark for a professional, a military professional.
Right.
So you got to humble that person as much as you can before they get they get put on that plateau, because then some of them, despite the best efforts, they get this God complex, so they feel they can't be touched. And then they get humbled real quick. Life will always find a way to humble you if you need it.
That's right, yeah. That's interesting. I could imagine, and you pick up chief there too, so what was it like going through, I would assume were you an RDC when you pick up chief, or were you in the schoolhouse, or like where were you at when you pick up chief?
Yeah, I was in the schoolhouse, and RTC Crew Training Command, like, they're known, they say you're top 10% when you go up there, but really you're top 10% when you leave there based off of your experience. But everybody in there, the majority of us, everybody's in shape, are in good enough shape. Everybody's used to running, by Navy standards at least, everyone knows the call cadence, so it's kind of like the alphas and the alphas. And going through season there, I really did enjoy it, because people say you went through season to RTC. I'm like, yeah, like, yo, man, that's pretty, pretty badass,
Yeah.
But just watching the alphas navigate each other is always fun. But for me, they didn't come at me too hard, because I made it at my 17-year mark, and then they're like, they're not going to drop me because I work at the schoolhouse, so I'm PTing a lot,
Yeah.
So my challenge was, let's make him fall to the back with the other guys who are alphas, and let's see how they take following. How long can they last biting their tongue and suffering because, the other person on their team is trying to figure it out. That's how they got me, and other guys. You got muted real quick.
That's interesting. I can imagine that's such a different world there. So
yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
That's good. Yeah, I know it's fun in general. So I sure was proud to hear that you made chief, and now you pick up senior chief. So that's always interesting to see people that we worked with back in the day, as they say. Progressing and making it further and further in there at a leadership role.
Man, you came up so much in my mind during my season, because remembering you going through your stuff, and the funny thing with you is, like, I don't know, maybe you always forward leaning in your thinking, right? And that's when, you know, I remember your routine was set, right? Like I used to admire like how you'd have, you know, Senior Chief Badami, and then you had Senior Shumpert, you know, Simon now just barking, and you'd be like, okay, all right, okay. And I remember I would see you kind of like, all right, that's fluff, that's the mission, that's the target. I'm going to take care of that. You know, and just watching you navigate like, hey, this is a priority, this is my time, and this is where I have to do this. You know, you were one of the first examples. You know, I was talking to Chris Waller about that. You know, I think you talked to Chris a couple weeks ago. And I was like, yeah, man, you know, maybe Matt, through his reading or just living off experience, he's ahead of the power curve. I don't know. But I took a lot from watching you before you were selected and then you when you got selected, how you navigated that. And that really helped me, man. I always remember that, man. I thank you for that, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. And, well, it just came from, you know, knowing other people ahead of me, too. So that's how it all gets passed down. You know, I'm watching other people ahead of me and picking out of there what they doing right and wrong. And, you know, I'm seeing both sides of it, so I can see what they did to help them, and everything I did to help me was you know, forwarded from someone else too. So it's always a pleasure to hear that somebody else could learn through things that I did well and through probably many mistakes that I made too.
But yeah, man, I always respected that, man. You, yeah, you know, I'm trying to apply that now. Like the biggest word that's in my mind right now that I tell myself and I tell my kids is the word application. That's like the biggest thing to me right now. I keep, like, my wife's probably tired of me saying it, but application is like, you know, there's so many methods and experiences out there to improve yourself and to improve your team. It's just a matter of applying it, you know, just setting a routine and applying it. Apply, application, you know? Yeah,
that's it. That's, you know, one of my dad's favorite saying was, like, put them up and knock them down. Just, you know, put the thing up there and do it. Put it up there and do it. If you don't do it, there's no value to it.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Well, it's great to hear. It's very good to hear that you guys are out there making it happen. So, so who is, if you look back through your life before the Navy, who is one person who influenced you most?
My mother. When I say, like, she was a good person, I'm not just saying it as a son. Like, she would always be giving people stuff. And I'm like, why? Like, she'll give till it hurts. That saying, give till she gave till it hurts. So I'm always thinking back to her, like, every time she was always the head nurse where she was at. She worked at Johns Hopkins, you know, and that's, like, probably, like, the best Navy, not Navy, that's one of the best hospitals in the country, in the world. And she was, like, the lead nurse there. And people will always meet her and thank her for, you know, things she did for them. So, and her work ethic, like, she'd be working some graveyard shifts to provide for me because, you know, her and my dad, after a while, it didn't work out. So it was just me and my grandmother with my mom, and she'd be working some graveyard shifts, but I would always have her full attention when she wasn't, you know, on the nurse floor, on the hospital floor. So my mom, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, she was really a giving person, it sounds like. So, like you said, giving till it hurts. So.
Yeah. You know.
That's a good lesson.
And then,
Okay.
Yeah. And then Navy-wise, you know, a whole bunch of you guys, man.
Yeah, Navy. Yeah, there's so many people that influence. I was telling you, like you talked about Chris Waller, like how much influence you guys in the whole division during that time provided for hopefully all of us, like all of us in the whatever you call, the leadership group or whatever, the OS1s and the chiefs and the certain classes that you came up through there. Hopefully there was a lot of lessons learned up and down the chain of command, because I learned so much and was influenced so much by everybody in that division. From the newest person in the Navy there to, at that time, somebody like Bill Tracy, who was there, retired, several years before me. It's that amount of influence that's around. If you can tune into it, you can really find great ways to improve your life and hopefully, get that pushed out to other people. It's a great way to grow into who you are and what you're put on earth for.
Yeah. The events in that time there, that was like one of my coming of age tours, and like as we're talking right now, everything's coming back, and I'm like, okay, that was my time going through what you and Tracy and a couple other guys and gals were going through. And I'm thinking right now, like, we all came, it was a bunch of second classes. And you always talk about, hey, you guys are perfect middle management. You guys are the perfect pay grade. And we'd be like, man, what the heck are you talking about, man? And it wasn't until I saw it, afterwards, like, okay, you're right in the middle. You call it the critical middle. You're there to delegate down, but then you're not there to catch ultimate ultimate blame for things. And there are times when, when I was second class, all the second classes, E5s, we were like, why aren't they telling us more? And actually, it was like you all letting us push it while you guys handled the bigger things, the admin, or forecasting forward. Let the young wolves go out there and push this, and we'll take care of the big stuff, Or like I was in your shoes. Like you never claimed to be the super operations specialist, but you said, hey, you find me a publication, you find me a guidance, like you will read it down until you can't get it, and then you'll seek out the right people to fill in the gaps of the information that you might not have. So looking at you and I talk about Tracy, Tracy wasn't the alpha. Tracy's a good guy. He knew his job down pat. But I feel you were the organizer. You're like, all right, let's put down the task. And then, when I came from RTC, I had to come to my first destroyer. And I didn't have that in-rate knowledge that some of these young sailors have, but I had the organizational skills. So I took a page from your book. I told them transparency. That's one thing I got from you through transparency is like, hey, I don't know this. I do know this. But if you lie to me, then, we're going to have issues.
And find out, Yeah,
and then they bought in. Not that I was selling them stuff, but they bought into the culture that I was trying to instill. And it became their culture. And so whereas I didn't have the answers, but I knew the organization, and it worked. And that's reflected in, on my last advancement. It's from the trust, the give and take. That's one thing I got from you guys, for certain.
That's good to hear too. Yeah, that's it's good to hear because like you said too, like I remember you guys always asking us, how come you don't tell us more? How come you're holding back? You just give us a little bit at a time and all this. And, it's good to hear that you continued. I'm sure there's plenty of others that continue to push through it and see that it never was really holding anything back. It was just like you say, there's other things to deal with, so we're giving you this stuff. But you can see that stuff like one thing that Bill Tracy and I talked about was that kind of exact thing was, and I told him, hey, you're really good at OS. You know how to do this. I need you to train OSs. And he did not like dealing with people and personal problems and all that. So I said, I'll deal with that piece and you deal with that piece, and then we had, I think there was 8 OS1s at the time. A few of those were already, they had 1 foot out the door or whatever. So they were just, they were there for us younger OS1s to say, hey, how did you deal with this or that? And they kind of did what you're talking about. They kind of just were there for things that we needed that maybe they had dealt with prior to us getting there or something like that. So it was a pretty interesting dynamic, and like I said, just so much influence going on there. It was quite a pressure cooker for 5 years of extreme training.
Yeah. Jessica Wilson, I don't know if you remember, she's out here in Japan. She's about to go back to Virginia. And a couple of second classes. All of us either made first and then picked up chief, senior chief, or became, like one guy, Fred Robin, he's now sheriff. He's doing great things in Virginia. I talked to him 2 nights ago, especially with everything that's going on in our country. Just picked his brain like, what's your experience and how you doing, man? And, he walks at a different frequency because of his time in service, and he references, our time together on the Vincent, because he and I, we were like, we're the first iteration of the pit bulls that you guys had, so you guys have let me in So, along with you and other first classes that was there. So it was great, man. Tools are there, It's great stuff.
That's great. That's great stuff. We'll have to catch up again sometime on that stuff and pull out the rest of those nuggets. I got a few other questions for you. These are kind of questions that so that I can see what's on your mind and stuff like that. Like, what is one thing that everyone must do once during their life?
I'll say if you are a family man or family woman, you got a family, have like a legit vacation. Vacation. I recently, like, one of the benefits of being stationed out here in Japan is, you have an easier way to get to certain, tourist places. And I was able, my wife actually scheduled it, but I was able to go to Bali. Oh, and nice. We went as a family vacation, and it came in the right time to where it was a good reset. The job tempo was really getting to me. I was managing, but like everyone has that gauge, that limit, and going there, it was a good reset to really just get things in order, to enjoy the company of your family, or even if it's a couple. I saw a lot of couples out there just enjoying vacation. And then by doing that, when I came back to work, I had a real fresh battery, and I was able really to go at like my second leg of my tour. So just a good vacation. Even if you can't go anywhere, just like literally just having a vacation. Like Bill Gates, he goes to a cabin and he just journals and reads and does whatever. It's a good vacation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's great. That's actually my daughter's. She just turned 18, almost 19 next month, and that's her big goal right now is to go to Bali. That's all she's been talking about. So maybe I can get her to ask you some questions, give her some good advice from Bali.
Yeah, she's family. She can call me directly, and I know if you go there, their customer service is the business. That's their main export, customer service. So I bet. I had a great experience out there. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, she just planned a trip to Hawaii, so she's putting that together for December. And she did it all on her own, basically, bought the tickets. And even during this time this pandemic. She's been able to get all that set up and all that with her friends, so that's a good deal. Now, if you could only read, let's say somebody, for whatever dumb reason, could only read one book in their life, and there's one book that you gave me on deployment, and I don't know if you remember it or not, but it was the LL Cool J book about workout and meal plans and stuff like that. That book has stuck with me to this day. So I don't know if that would be the book, but that book really gave me a lot of insight and influence at a time that I needed it. And I probably need it again now, so I could get back to that shape that I was in. This shape I am now. But if you could recommend that one book to somebody, that's all they can read in their whole lifetime, which book would you recommend?
You see, you put me on the spot, man, because I've become like a bookworm, man.
I know. That's why I only picked one. And then you could tell us the rest of the books that you would recommend, but you got to pick just one that somebody has to read.
Okay, I'm gonna go. It's close, but I'm gonna say, As a Man Thinketh. Yeah, like you start reading, you keep giving books away, man. That's why I'm glad I have my Kindle. And now my main thing is I like to buy people a Kindle or Audible, and I just send it to them email. They claim it, and I'm able to keep my books and go ahead and pass everything. Yeah.
Yeah. James Allen wrote that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Allen. Yeah. James Allen. Yeah, but As a Man Thinketh.
I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, my main takeaway with that one, there was a quote in there, I'm paraphrasing it, but it was talking about he equated, our mind to a garden, right? And it's if you leave it to its whims, it's just going to grow, and it's going to have weeds, and it's not going to be, tended. But if you tend to the garden of the mind, you can have good crops, and it really focuses on how everything comes from the mindset and how you perceive things and taking care of your mind and programming your mind and all that. You in charge of it, Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's one that I believe is one that everybody should read. What's a few others if you want to mention out there for people that can read more than one? What's a couple other good books you recommend, or that you would send through to Kindle, to people to make sure they read?
If you're interested in leadership, if you're trying to grow as a leader, right? You get better at what you do, and most guys like sports and football. The first leadership book that I really read was by Tony Dungy, and he was people don't know, he's a Hall of Fame coach and a previous player, and he played under the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm trying to remember the Hall of Fame coach of the Steelers, but they had a dynasty in the 70s, and that really influenced his coaching. And I read that, Uncommon by Tony Dungy. That's one book on leadership, because he took over a failing franchise and he built the culture, but he let the players really take ownership of the culture, and that really shaped my leadership style. You put the structure in place. Once the culture is set, then you can properly delegate different things. So books by Tony Dungy, read on books from football coaches as far as how to build culture and leadership. That affected me a lot. And then lately, I've been reading a lot about Stoicism. And, Ryan Holiday, he's a trending author lately. They call him the modern Stoic. And, I kind of been diving into Stoicism through him. I read his books. The last book I read for him was Ego is an Enemy. He talked about ego a lot.
Like
you talk to a certain person on his phone call, and So Ego's the Enemy. I'd say for right now, that's the book I think a lot of people should read. Ego's the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I love that book.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation there too. Have you got to dig into Meditations by Marcus Aurelius yet?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna grab that. I think Ryan Holiday, he gave me a good primer to prep that kind of read, and then now I'm really ready to receive it and really understand what as I read it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a great way to learn more about yourself too, is through those philosophy books. Learning. That's one of the reasons I like meditation so much. Is if somebody 25, 2,000 years ago, something I don't remember exactly, but the way that he explains life, you'd almost think he was living today.
Yeah. It talking about him dealing with a plague,
Yeah.
him dealing with as far as government, him dealing with, the constant posturing of people that he helped mentor that now want to come for him, Him losing children is crazy to see the thoughts of what was considered like the most powerful man in the world at that time,
Yeah, and you get to dig into his thoughts, in real time, because you'll probably believe that it's your life you're reading about at a lot of points,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. The last question I have here for you is, what's your favorite movie and why is it your favorite?
What's my favorite movie? All right, it's a Marvel movie because I love comic books even before it was like the end thing. So my favorite movie, which is a Marvel movie, is Captain America: Winter Soldier. And the reason why I like that movie so much is because everybody has this image of Captain America being like this patriot who's just like, everything for America, everything. We can't do no wrong. And that's like furthest from the truth. Like, if you read the comic books and, everything about Captain America, there are several times when he kind of broke ranks, quote unquote, with the government because, he loved the country so much that he would like hold her accountable. And in that movie he did that, and by him challenging it, he uncovered, corruption, and of course the action scenes, right? So, yeah. As a matter of fact, it was a recommendation. If you they got this YouTube channel called The Take, and they talk about The Take Captain America, and it talks about, the actual character, like how he several times he's all about the morals and all that, but he, like a real patriot, is going to protect their country, not the government, they protect their country by holding it accountable when need be. So I love that movie, and that's also my favorite superhero. He's good for goodness sake, but he's not a pushover, So
yeah. Okay, that's excellent. I appreciate that. I haven't seen that one, so I have to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. Plus, it got Sam Jackson in there. I love it.
Oh yeah, that's always good then.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while, making great movies.
Yeah, his career, his life is one worth studying. You talk about somebody who really had challenges and really perfected their craft. Like Sam Jackson, he definitely is worth a look, for real.
Yeah. For sure, I'll make sure that's in here then. That's great, man. I appreciate everything we've said. I want to give you a chance for any last words before we say goodbye for this interview. Hopefully you can do another one again, a few months or a year or something. Talk more than that, of course, but sit down, do another picking of the brains. What's the last words that you have for everybody that's hopefully listening?
You see, I used to hate people, in our profession who would like put a quote at the end of their emails. But I grew to like that. But I grew to like it because you do get some nuggets from people. If it's an email from a person that you actually respect, you're gonna look at it like, hey, let me see that. And the one I put on my emails now that I do it is a quote: "Men who are in earnest are not afraid of consequences." And the reason why I love that quote and I try to live by it is because, the definition of earnest means to be sincere, with conviction. So if you know it's right, it's the right time, just speak on it and just do it. Because if you're doing things in the right spirit, it's usually 9 times 10 going to have a good result. So you shouldn't fear the repercussions. You shouldn't fear failure because you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it with conviction. So, once again, men who are in earnest are not afraid of consequences. If you're in that meeting, speak up. You got to know the timing sometimes, but maybe sometimes there's no perfect time to speak the truth. People want the truth. So just, if you're sincere, just go for it. And then the same thing I'll say is, like I said before, is about the application. The world's been spinning long enough, and enough people have gone through and done some of the challenges and experiences that we've all been through. That you're trying to figure it out. Take the lessons there and just apply it. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. I'm quoting someone else, but no need to reinvent the wheel. You just figure out the terrain and the best way to drive with it. So just apply the lessons that are out there. Apply the history. It's all in the application. Application is the word. Application. The plan is to, maybe I'll take a stab at trying to be maybe a CMC someday, But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yep. I'll definitely keep you posted.
I was picturing you like that the other day.
Oh, man. Now I'm on the clock.